What is up, fellow nerds and nerdettes? Welcome to 2022. Just in time for Easter Monday. The Pornstar channel has come back from the dead, which is quite fitting, I think. So today we're going over the first BTSD episode of the year, episode 13. Casey and I went to Clubloose 2's Fresh Bash at Midvale. And for this year, I had some ideas of how to change the format of my BTSD episodes a little. So my goal here was to make the episodes shorter, make them more engaging to watch, and as you can imagine, I would love to hear some feedback from you. So feel free to hop into those comments and let me know if this is an improvement, if it's worse, if you have different ideas. I'm pretty much open to anything. I'm just trying to make content that at least 5 people on the internet can enjoy. So with that said, let's get into what happened at our first Yeet Fleet event of the year. And we're off. You can see Casey leading here, and right off the bat you can see and hear how sketchy the conditions were on day one. The Midwest literally threw everything at us it had up its sleeve, from rain to sleet to hail to snow, like the whole 9 yards, everything short of a tornado basically. And you can see how sketchy the track was. This was our first run off the trailer, shaking down the cars. We kept in mind where people were spinning the most, just feeling out the cars and having a good time. So now it's my turn to lead, and the conditions are still sketchy to say the least. You can, coming into turn 1 here, you can actually see how much mud there is on track, and you can see how little traction the front of the car has. Like, there are way too many steering corrections on my part. Like right there when the car snapped over, and sometimes it grips, sometimes it doesn't. Now we're up on the bank there. That line looks pretty good. This is a spot where a lot of people spun, so we were mindful of that. Basically, anytime there's a surface transition is what makes things a little sketchier. And pro tip, when you got to your car and you have to remove the dash to cage it, and you remove the windshield wiper assembly, you want to put that back in the car. I forgot to do that, and so this made this event extra entertaining because I couldn't see squat anytime it rained, so that was great. Again, the most obvious thing here, outside of how little throttle I apply, is that you can just see how little front grip there is. It's like my steering work is way too erratic, and even Casey loops it there, going from one type of pavement to the other in the bank. You could see how he understeered, went wide, and then he just had too much wheel speed to make that rotation. But it happens to everybody, It's just how it goes. At least we didn't wreck. There's another wet run. Finally I have a hydro in the car. This is the first time I'm driving this car with an e-brake, and of course that is a bit of a confidence booster, especially in conditions like these. And it's sorta, kinda starting to get the hang of it. Casey has had a major revamp of his car. Like, that thing's an absolute beast. And this run is not great. You can see me shut it down here because I didn't want to get into that pothole and punish my front suspension like that, but you can see we're getting there. Alright, me leading again, and the car's actually responding to steering inputs a little better here. We'll see how it does in the mud puddle. Not too bad. Got out there, transitioned clean without too much crazy steering work. Same thing here, correction there, big one. Tell that I understeered. And then I think this is the first run where I managed to go decently wide on that turn. This layout is something we've never done. At least I haven't, and I haven't seen it done at Midvale, is where you actually do a big roundy round at the end of the track. That would have been an absolute riot if we had any kind of grip. That would have been really cool. But unfortunately, on Saturday, the cars were running super strong, but we weren't blessed with the greatest conditions, as you can see. It's like it hurts to watch. Like, looking at all those steering inputs. But finally, once I'm actually in the bank, that's the line that I would want to be on. I want to be off the new pavement, be really wide through that transition, and then where that inside clip is, You would just want to blip and go through it, you know. So first half of that run was trash, but that final bank there, I was okay with that. This is a run that I've shared on my Facebook. This was the best run I managed to get on the first day, with the most, I shouldn't say the best run in the sense that I was happy with my driving, but the track conditions were the most consistent there, and you can see there isn't too much craziness going on. There's actually smoke coming off the tires, and you know, that 2 car length proximity that I've got to Casey, I pretty much maintained that through the run, so that was literally as good as it got. But if you caught that, after that handbrake pull, the car wasn't responding to throttle the way you would expect it. Alright. And that was the end of day 1 here, because we got 2 runs in the final heat. We were sitting there, and it was like almost dry, like I just said, and then sure enough, it started pouring. And you can see how much I saw out the windshield, which is nothing. That wraps up day 1. Day 1 was a fairly wet affair, but it was a good shakedown for the car. I ran into an issue I had never seen before, which was that when I got on the throttle, it wasn't that the car was bogging or anything, it was simply ignoring my throttle request. So there was just the power never came on. And that is something that I didn't struggle with before on this car, and it happened in that last run where the conditions were decent. Yeah, spoiler alert, it doesn't get better. So let's see what day 2 holds. Day 2. Now see, this is a mid-spring event. Like, look at that weather. It's just absolutely gorgeous. Unfortunately, especially with the 360 cam footage, if you watch my front wheels, you'll notice something a little bit peculiar there. And that's that I'm essentially grip driving most of the time and not really drifting. And that wasn't because I was struggling with the car or the track was sketchy. It came back to those same electronics issues I mentioned earlier. It's just like, you'd step on it, nothing. Like, absolutely nothing happened. So I got frustrated, and after 2 runs of that, just looking at Casey putting on a smoke show and me not being able to drive, I was like, ah, that's enough of that. Luckily, I have a backup car, right? So then I had the opportunity to drive with a guy that I don't know I've met before on track driving. Brian, he's got a LS2 powered FC. Weed whacker coming in. So that's me driving with him, first time ever. I just jumped from the Mustang into the blue car, and I didn't even transfer the 360 cam over, but thankfully Brian got me some footage, and here's a quick visual. Yikes, that could have gone really bad. That was a visual of why it's always a bit of a trust exercise to drive with people that you're not familiar with, you know. He did the right thing though. When he knew that he didn't catch the car, he just kept looping it, and we got out of the way, but that was a little close for comfort. So with the black car out of commission, I just proceeded to driving the party car, and blue was an absolute riot as always. She's still, in this video here, she's still on Fresh Bash tires, Fresh Bash oil, Fresh Bash gas. The clutch is still slipping. I didn't do anything to blue over the off season, so this is loaded on the trailer after our team comp last year, offload it and take it out. And I'm pretty happy with how that car ran with Casey there, because Casey's car, he did so much work to it in the off season, and you'll see multiple runs with us in this video, and his car just rips. I mean, it's an LS7 crate motor, it's got 570 horse, and he gets all the wheel speed he wants, you know. So blue, even halfway decent keeping up with him with my little 250, 270 or whatever horsepower car, is I'm pretty happy with that. And if you watch these next couple runs where we drive together, you'll notice that I'm simply out of wheel speed on the first turn in that big manji, but then I managed to like reel him in a little bit through the rest of the track, because the gearing on my car for that initial section is just completely off. And watch it, listen. In the in-car footage you can tell that I really have to like granny shift the car and take it easy on run-up until we have the clutch fixed, because it's not happy at all. But for what it's worth, you know, the runs were fun. And it was so good to see Casey absolutely shredding out there. I mean, look at that amount of smoke. That car is something else. And when you're driving with somebody you have so much confidence in, like I have in Casey, like you'll notice, I'm like, watch this transition. I mean, you're literally flying blind, you know? And there's the difference between you drive with somebody that you know and trust, or somebody that you haven't driven with before, will change what you actually do during those transitions, you know? Like if you're willing to commit and stay on throttle, those transitions are where you can make up the most time on the track, you know, especially when your runs are like the ones you're seeing here, where we're starting out with this big gap and I'm trying to not completely chop up the line, but, you know, time my transition such that, you know, I can make up a little ground there. That was good fun. That was fun to drive. Yeah, I mean, Jesus, just look at all that smoke pouring out of Casey's car. It's just awesome. There she goes. Alright. Couple angles of those runs. Now it's my time to lead. Again, super easy on the run up. Trying to not fry the clutch anymore, but in the lead, we focus on the steering work once we're in the part of the track that the gearing is set up for, meaning starting about now. Came in a little tighter there than I cared for, but it's like, it was just like it's on rails. There's really not much input that's required. Let go of the wheel, grab the wheel, make slight adjustments, but basically that car drives itself. I just absolutely love that car. And carrying out nice and wide there in the infield, looping around. Good times. I just never get tired of driving that car. It's awesome. She's a keeper. Oh, there we go. Outside view of Casey chasing me. Casey. Doesn't really goose it too hard on the run up. It doesn't have to, because he knows that I'm going to be slow on the straight. Yeah, but it's this is a cool angle for me to see, because I know YouTube is probably going to compress the heck out of this, but you know, the carbon fiber and the flake really pops in these shots, so that makes me happy. Oh, there's Casey looking in. Good work, bud. And around one more time. Any of those mid-veil layouts with a figure 8 in the layout, God, they're just such a blast. It's like, it's the best. I love those. Right, and now we let Brian in this FC lead again. And based on previous experience, you know, everybody's cautious and he's doing his thing. And just look at the difference. Like now that the Manji occurs, like he pulls away from me, but you see how much more Casey pulled away there. So it's like I said, there's so much to car setup. I've talked about this in my more technical videos. Grip equals speed, and you can tell that if I had more faith and I would commit more, Blue would keep up with that LS2 FC like no problem. And I think that's pretty cool for a little 4-cylinder car. As you can see, there's the gap essentially never really changed, you know. So had I committed more for the transitions, I could have been on him quite a bit more. But yeah, for the first couple laps out, I'm not mad at it. That was a good time. And it seemed like after we talked in the pits, he was pretty happy that he got to drive with us, so apparently he had a good time too. So that's always a plus. Yeah, and that's that same lap, just from an exterior angle. That car, it's clean, and of course, you know, being an LS2, and it's a tuned LS2, so if I were to guess, it's probably a 450 horsepower car. So you can see there's no shortage of smoke there either. But yeah, like with more commitment right there in that transition, you could have closed that gap right up. It's pretty slick. Alright, I think I know which run this is. So he initiates late, yep, and that causes me to be closer than I normally am in that section of the track. And then, you know, take the speed, pulls away, But then did you notice how late he transitioned, and that put him on too wide of a line, and he would have had to have more angle in his car to scrub that amount of speed on that wide of a line to make it into the infield. So he looped it there, but you could see that coming from a ways away, so that wasn't a close call or nothing. That was all good. You'll also see that on the 360 shot. Like on the 360 shot, just pay attention to, after the manji, when you choose to transition out of the manji, how long you are willing to aim your car at the wall. Basically that determines where you're going to enter the bank. And as far as we went down, I was like, interesting, that's a late initiation there, and it's cool when you have a car that can keep it together and then scrub speed with more angle into the infield, but unfortunately his car runs out of angle there. And there's another thing to take a quick glance at. Once we're coming around the figure eight, watch how much steering angle I have to take out in that final turn. And it's like, yep, there, and just dialing it back. That was because to end my day, after the Mustang was essentially inoperable, Blue decided to blow another supercharger belt. There's the loop from his perspective. There we go. Yeah, that ends the driving footage of BTSD 13 at Midvale. And it was a lot of fun. I'm so glad we went. It was a really good shakedown test for the cars. Unfortunately, there are some electronic issues that Champ Sport is going to iron out, I'm sure, on the Mustang. And on Blue, in that literally our final run of that, I want to say second heat, the blower belt went. And it's about an hour to an hour and a half job to change those blower belts. And that would have taken me into the next A group heat, and it would have been the last heat of the day, and those are typically shorter, and everybody is trying to get runs in still, so there isn't that much seat time to be had. So I was like, yeah, you know what, 2 cars with issues, I'm just gonna call it quits and get home before midnight for once on a Sunday night. So I was like, yeah, I'm calling it. So yeah, there you have it. That was our experience at Midvale. It was an excellent time. I'd recommend anyone to go to that track. And as far as the Heat fleet is concerned, our comp cars for this year, my Mustang, Casey and Alan's C's, they're going to be pretty bonkers, I think. And I hope that you guys are going to enjoy some of the footage that's going to come from those cars. You've already seen on the first test, like, what kind of a monster Casey's car is. And I don't want to spill the beans because it's not for me to announce what he did, but let's just say I'm almost willing to bet money that out of all the grassroots cars in the Midwest you're going to see this year, Alan is definitely going to be on a level all his own. Like, that car is going to be freaking insane. So I can't wait to drive with the guy and share some videos of it with you cool people on the internet that like drifting. Yeah, so season just started. There's a lot to come. It's going to be a good season for us as a team, I think. And yeah, I hope to see as many of you people on the track as possible. So that's it. Have a good one.